All right.
Ben Price, welcome
Ciao,
to the
bud.
podcast, mate. You know what I've been doing with these podcasts, which I'm loving, is that so I haven't seen you for a few years now,
Yeah.
but we actually didn't work together on the circuit because you do your own thing, I do my own thing. But our paths
We've done a
crossed.
couple of
Yeah, done a
gigs.
couple
Yeah,
of
yeah.
things. And you do a lot of work in the corporate world, and I think
Yeah.
we did a show together somewhere.
Yeah.
We produced a show.
Oh, yeah.
And but I haven't seen you for a while. So this podcast series that I'm doing, one great thing about it is that I get my mates in, we
can
have a
catch
chat,
up.
and it's a catch up
Yeah, I
at the
know.
same time. So what's been going on?
Yeah.
Mate? You still things are back to normal?
I don't know. I don't think there is a normal, is there?
Well, okay, but based
sorta
on the
did
amount of
get-
gigs that you used to get,
Yeah,
okay, like
it-
how many corporates do you do a week, roughly on average?
I'd like to do a couple a week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, it did get quite back to normal, and then it's just been so up and down. But it's been all right. It's been okay.
Oh, you
Yeah.
know what? One thing that we need to do before we continue, we need to tell the people
Who I
what
am.
you do.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, I'm sure
Should we
we'll
start
insert a
again?
clip here of all your different characters.
Yeah,
but let's start at who you are and what you do.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought we're starting again.
No, we're not starting again. No. We don't. We try not edit.
No, yeah,
so-
exactly. Well, no, I'm a comedian impersonator.
Yeah.
So I think I never know. I never sit down and just work out the exact amount of voices, but there's something like 200 plus impressions
Yeah.
and accents that I do.
Yeah.
And so that's been my thing, is sometimes dressing up as these characters.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's just doing the voice. And probably people know me from Australia's Got Talent.
Yeah,
in
'cause you-
particular.
Yeah. How did you go in that? You did really well, didn't you?
I made the grand final, which was great. So I was in the
well,
top 10. So
yeah.
that's all you want. And
Yeah.
that was when we did those shows together
right, of
in
course.
Sydney.
That's right.
That
Yeah.
year. So
Yeah.
that was 2011.
Wow.
Can you believe it? And but so I'd been doing it full time since about 2000.
Yeah.
And so it's 23 years of full time comedy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And
But
I've
did
done a
you
lot
ever-
of radio stuff and TV stuff as
What,
well.
voiceovers or?
Voiceovers. And I used to ring up. I was on Gold 104.3 for 10 years. So I would pretend I was the Victorian Premier, or remember Steve Brax?
Yeah, of course.
Ring up as Steve Brax. Yes, fantastic. It's great to be here. You need to say everything in threes. That's not true. It's a lie. It's dishonest. I won't have that. Yeah.
Well, don't forget this podcast goes out to
Yeah, I
everyone
know.
all over
So
the
I-
world.
so I did-
Steve Brax was a premier
I know,
of Victoria,
but
yeah,
he
in
was
case
kind
we-
of famous. He wasn't as
Yeah.
famous as Dan, but
Yeah. Can you do Dan?
well, right to go. Yes, it's a bit scary doing that voice. You're right. As of midnight, the great tribulation will begin. The fourth white horse will come. No, it's a scary voice. I don't want to
It
frighten
is,
anyone
isn't it?
out there.
He's a strange
But
character.
they used to
isn't
do
he?
a lot
He's-
of Arnold Schwarzenegger when they ring up whenever there was a bodybuilding or some kind of story about Arnie in the news. This was fantastic. So it was doing all these types of voices, and then President Trump's been very big. But I sort of did him after I got out of radio.
Yeah.
But he's fantastic. Really great to be here. Believe me.
Is it really?
It's fantastic. I got to say, what an honor. What an honor, Joe. It is for you to have me on your podcast. It really is great.
I think one of my favorite gags you did about, because this is the great thing about not only do you
Yeah.
do the impressions, you have to
Dress up.
I mean, you get an applause break doing the impressions, but it's making it funny. And
Yeah.
yourself and Tahir organised for when Nat and I got married.
Yes.
You organised Donald Trump to give us a special mention, which I thought was really funny. I think if we find it, we'll play it. We'll splice it in
Because it
here.
was a deep fake.
Yeah, right. A deep fake. That's what they call them, is it?
Yeah, they
so,
call it
so,
with a-
so what does that mean? A deep
Oh,
fake?
so it's basically like, it starts out where they just put his face on my face.
Right.
But we've done where it's a full head swap. So I could just be dressed like this.
Yeah.
I just wear a suit
Right.
with the red tie. It looks fantastic. And I've got the green screen and a video editor can put Trump's face or whoever's face on mine.
Yeah.
So I'm doing all these kind of expressions and it matches his
Oh,
face.
so by you doing those expressions,
It will match up using AI with his expressions. I don't know how it works, but it does. And so I could do it with any character.
what about the lips though?
Yeah,
so,
it'll-
so they're
it'll lip
your
sync.
lips.
No, it's their lips, but moving to the same words that I'm saying. So even when I'm like, really fantastic and it's wonderful, and he's got that like shaped
yeah, right.
mouth,
Yeah.
it will do all of that. It's incredible. It trains and can do it. I don't know how it works,
Wow.
but it does.
Yeah. And you know what?
It's kind of scary, isn't it?
You know what was interesting was that I actually put that on social media,
Yeah.
and I probably lost followers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because
about that.
it's all right, I don't care. You know,
No, I
anyone
know.
who doesn't follow you because
Yeah.
you might put
Yeah.
a gag about politics or what, like really,
Yeah, I
really,
know.
you know, like you know what, what I find funny. I don't know. You probably don't get this because you know you're it's pretty. You know, you're not really ruffling any feathers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I did. What did I do recently? I don't know. I liked some journalist's post or something because I
Yeah, and
agreed
people
with that
see that.
particular comment that this
Yeah.
journalist made. Or I did one gag. It was about Australia Day, Indigenous people,
Yeah.
something like that. And this lady, I followed you for 20 something years. You know, I can't believe, you know, I can't believe you did this. I'm not following anymore. I'm thinking, so, you know, so are you like that with your family? Like, you know, like you know, here's your sister of 40 years and she
Yeah.
says something you don't like. That's it. I'm not going to be your sister anymore when I'm calling you because I did not like one thing that you said.
Yeah.
And it's pretty.
You click like
Yeah.
on something.
So we put that clip up
Yeah.
and people unfollowed because you can see.
Yeah.
'Cause look, normally you lose about 20 or 30 followers a day just
Yeah.
because people are coming in and
Yeah.
out, whatever people get off
Yeah.
Instagram. And the more followers you have,
Yeah.
the larger percentage because
Yeah.
you know there's people coming in and
bound
out
to
all the time,
happen.
right? But then you know there's a spike.
Yeah.
Shit, just that went down, which things are supposed
Yeah.
to be going up. And then you go, well, what did we post? Oh shit, we posted. So people
Yeah.
thought it was real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how could you even accept a message of congratulations from
Yeah.
this guy?
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible.
I
so
know.
that's called
Oh,
deep
I
fake.
get that.
Deep
Yeah.
fake is what it's called.
Yeah. And I did one of Biden too, so
Right.
people could hate me on either side or love it either
So
way.
I haven't heard you do Biden. Can you do?
Yeah,
Biden?
people ask if I could do a Biden voice, and
Yeah.
I don't think he can. So, you know, man, this, you know, the thing, you know, come on, man, the thing, man, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you've got that long, slim.
Well, it works with his
Face,
face.
yeah.
With Trump, his face is a lot more rounder than mine. So,
Yeah.
but when they edit it,
Mhm.
they can make my face, you know, they can edit it in such a way that it can work with any face.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. With Arnie, we did the deep fake. We did Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So it's giving messages to people. Help you celebrate your birthday. And it was all these little messages out
Yeah,
there as
yeah.
Tom. And I did ones as Stallone. Stallone was great, you know. And I did I did Boris Johnson. You know, he was so fun. The British Prime Minister.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know Boris Johnson.
Yeah, no, I
Right,
know.
Don't know.
But,
I know
but,
of him.
but he was, you know, right. So yes, I hope you're well. Hope you're fighting fit as the butcher's dog, right? And I had corona. My doctor said you're pasty. I said, good. I'm back to normal. Excellent. And I was doing hundreds of messages as
yeah.
him.
So
for-
what
for
is
people in
Cameo?
Britain.
So
Cameo or
During
Memo
COVID? Was
or
this during
Thrill.
COVID?
Yeah,
Yeah,
during
right.
COVID, and I was doing virtual events on Zoom.
yeah.
The cool thing was, like, I know a lot of comedians didn't do virtual events but for me, I would like talk to someone on Zoom and
Yeah.
I'd do an impression. They go, "Oh, I'm hearing a laugh," and then I'd put a green screen behind me. So I'd have like I do Homer Simpson, but as I do it, I change the background. So I got the
Right.
Simpsons couch behind me.
All right.
And then
Okay.
I'd have the Terminator background, so I'm talking like Arnold, and then I'm doing Dr. Phil, and I got the Dr. Phil set behind me, so it's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and it just gave this kind of theatre that they could see up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was fun. You could do shows all around the world. I remember doing a conference in Texas, and it was like midnight here in Australia. It was morning there.
Yeah.
And then I did one for Finland.
Mhm.
They'd never fly me over.
Yeah.
But
right.
there's 200
Sure.
Finnish people,
Yeah.
and they didn't even have to social distance because
Yeah,
that,
of course,
that wasn't
because
a
they were-
law
Yeah.
in,
Oh, right.
in like
So
Scandinavian
were
countries.
they in one room or were they?
No, they were all spread out in
all
like
spread out?
Yeah, like 200 people on the call, and I think I had like 5 of them unmuted so I could get some laughter, but I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, because this is what I was
They
going
got
to
no
ask you.
they got no sense of humor, and they're like, we were built for this time because we don't like seeing people at the best of times. And so it's like they were built for social distancing.
You,
the
you
Finns.
sounded then like if any Formula One followers,
Yeah.
you sounded like Kimi Raikkonen then.
Oh, well, that's good. He's Finnish.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he's used to the Finnish flag when the Finnish flag waved you over the finish line. It's like, cheesy. But, yeah, I know. They were so fun
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
And, like no laughter,
Yeah.
but comments. Oh, best thing. This is awesome. They
Yeah.
loved it.
I think Tahir, and for those of
Yeah.
you watching from overseas,
He's great.
Tahir is a great Australian comedian, very close friend of ours,
Yeah,
both of us.
that's it.
Is he didn't, but what they said was, what he got him to do was, so he had all these people on the screen so he could see,
Yeah.
all the people. But what he asked them to do was to unmute who
Yep.
they thought were the biggest laughers
That's what I
of
did.
the organisation.
Yes.
And that's how they got around it, because as a comedian you really need to feed off
Yeah.
the laughter, and if it's not coming in real time,
Yeah.
it really puts it out, because we're not used to doing that.
Yeah.
We're used to performing in real time. So and I've got a whole lot of questions I want to ask.
You don't want to do it with a big audience though, because I tried that a few years ago.
Yeah.
Even before COVID, there was a crowd in Alabama,
Yeah.
and they were all like 100 people in an audience, and there was a delay.
Right.
So I tell a joke and think, oh, they're not laughing, and then 3 seconds later, a huge laugh would come, and I'm like, oh, there's a delay.
Yeah, there's a delay.
So I had to
then you
turn
go-
the volume down, so I just trust that they're hearing it.
Yeah.
and it went really well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because you have to do that. Recently, I had a show which was a bizarre thing that never happened to me. It was a really, really long room,
Yeah,
and 15 minutes into the show, I was like, "Are you guys? Can you hear me? Is this microphone on?" Because I just could not hear.
yeah,
And why I realised after is when the lights came on, because I was not in the room prior.
Yeah.
Was that so there was a really long room, but in the ceiling, the ceiling right down in the middle of the room was concave in.
yeah,
So what would happen? That the laughter would travel up. I know this is going to sound strange.
yeah.
But the laughter would go up into the ceiling and be trapped there.
Oh wow,
So they were laughing.
but it was
But
going
it
up.
wasn't.
It's
It was
getting
going
sucked
up, and it wasn't coming out. That's why sometimes when you do venues where there's a lot of
Yeah,
like Crown, the Palms at Crown is
Yeah.
notorious
Yeah.
for being a really difficult room to
It is.
work.
Yeah.
You know why? What do you think it is?
I'm guessing the same reason, but also you've got that gap with the stage.
That's another thing.
I
Yeah.
hate that.
Yeah, you know why?
And stage is
the
too high.
The ceiling is really high, okay,
Yep.
but there is a huge because of the way it's a beautiful cabaret room and it's a 900 seater.
Yeah.
But the fabric in
Yeah.
the chairs and in the curtains and on the walls
Yeah.
absorbs all the sound,
Mm.
and you don't get the bounce, and it doesn't seem like a big laugh to you.
Yeah.
Right, and that's a big thing to do. And
Yeah.
I've heard other artists come off stage going, "That was a
It's
hard
tough.
room, mate.
Yeah.
It's a tough room." So that's the COVID thing. Let's go back. Let's go back to how this all started, okay?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot of people who are fascinated as to how the hell
Yeah.
do you get into this? How do you even know you can do voices?
Yeah.
What was the first voice you did? Okay, talk us back. So born where? Born Melbourne?
Born in Melbourne.
Yep.
Yeah.
Country Victoria or
No,
city?
I grew up in the eastern suburbs of Ringwood. I grew up
Yeah,
in,
right.
and even born out that way.
Yeah.
But the first impression that I did, well, it was a friend of mine from England,
Mm-hmm.
so he spoke like that. So that's how I got into it when I was 10 years old.
So he
And-
spoke like that. So you were
He spoke like, well, he hung out with me. I think he stayed for about 6 weeks
Yeah.
over summer one year, and he
Yeah.
stayed with us, and I was hanging out with him every day. So I said, "What do you think of Australia?" He goes, "Yeah, I like it. And
Yeah.
I'd go, "Yeah, I like it." And that was, you'd be similar age to me. So
Yeah.
in the 80s, I used to watch Some Others Do Have 'Em.
Oh yeah.
With Frank Spencer. So he still, talk like that. Oh,
Yeah.
Betty did it.
Yeah.
Cat did a whoopsie.
See all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then it was, 12th Man stuff.
Yeah.
Richie Benno and Tony Gregg and all those voices, the cricket, voices. And I would watch the Comedy Company. So
Yeah.
you're all one go out level, a beautiful day, young kiddies. Remember all those? And
Yeah.
grow
Yeah.
up watching Paul Hogan.
Yeah.
All those shows and Fast Forward. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of where it all started. Doing it at school, doing impressions with my mates, mimicking teachers.
Yeah.
And I made tapes.
Yeah.
When I was 15, I had a friend, we made tapes. And I said, we're going to do this for a living, make tapes.
Yeah.
I ended up making a tape in the late 90s. I was like, yeah, I did a tape and never did a record.
Well,
but
because back then, when did the 12th Man come out?
yeah, probably the early 80s, the first one, I would say.
Yeah.
But really in the late to mid, even the early 90s, that was where it was really big.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
when I was getting into it. And yeah.
So for those people watching, well, look, this podcast goes all over the world.
Yeah.
So the people watching from England,
They're not going to know some of those
well,
voices.
no, well, it's like the people from
Yeah.
England probably
They
would
might,
because
yeah.
cricket is massive.
Oh, it's
so this
huge,
was
yeah.
a guy in Australia who would impersonate
Yep.
all the cricket players,
Yeah.
the cricket umpire, the cricket commentators, not umpires, sorry, and he would do all these voices.
Yeah.
And he put them out on a tape. Everyone used to listen to them. The 12th Man, he was
Yeah.
called, right? People in North America may not follow that.
Probably
but,
not.
but the people in, well, you'd be surprised. You know, when
You
I was
never know.
there's actually an AFL competition in Toronto.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So there's all these people that love. Ringo Starr's manager is a huge Essendon fan.
Is that right?
Yeah, he loves the Essendon football team here in
Wow.
Australia, which is Aussie rules football, right? So
Maybe it was the drugs.
y-
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
so here you are, you're 15 and so on, right? You're doing all these impressions. So by now you've realised, okay, I've got a knack
Yeah.
to do that. What do you? Okay, let's talk about, because you probably didn't think about this until later. So you're 15. Do you go to school? Do you go to university? What happens after that?
Yeah, I was at school, obviously, during
Yeah,
that
school, yeah,
time, but I didn't really, I wanted to play cricket for Australia
Right.
and do comedy, and then I ended up choosing comedy, but I actually would hope just to do tapes, and then people started booking me at events, birthday parties, and thinking, oh, this would be good. This
Yeah.
would be a good way to do it.
Yeah.
But one of the first gigs I ever did was at a high school camp, and I was a robot that my friend would program me to do any voice.
Right.
Yeah, that was my first comedy routine. So,
Yeah.
and
Did you ever
I
do-
wanted to go further into that. Yeah.
Did you ever do straight stand up without doing impressions, or was it always with impressions?
Always with impressions or voices, but I think the more I've done it lately, it's been a lot more of just stand up as
Mm-hmm.
well, and then coming back to voices.
Right.
Yeah, I've thought about doing a whole show of just stand up,
Yeah. Right.
but the
Is your
voices
stand up?
are
I
so
haven't seen you
fun.
do just your stand up on its own.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
yeah.
it always defaults to an accent.
Right.
I just think they're so fun to put in at least a voice or something.
Yeah.
Because you do voices.
Yeah, I do.
And that's
yeah,
what
but the
makes
Italian.
it
yeah.
makes it so colourful.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So I can do a good Greek. Oh no, Greek is very difficult to do. I can do
Is
a good
that right?
Italian guy, yeah, old Italian guy or an Italian nonna. I can do Indian very well. I can do South African very
Oh.
well.
Love that.
What else? I can do the gay accent. What? I don't know if that's controversial or not, but there is
There is an accent.
an accent.
Yeah. It's almost like they've got the barista accent too.
What's that?
It's like, hey guys, how are we guys? You want some food, guys? How about some menus? You want some coffees to start with? I just want coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
there you go. So there's that.
You're writing my order down? No, it's all up here, guys. I've got it all up
Yeah.
here.
But what about like the people who talk like, yeah, I'm a guy, like,
Yeah.
that's an accent too,
I
right?
used
That's
to do an Ian Thorpe impression,
right.
and he was like that. Yeah, I was like, basically, so I wasn't really offending anyone because I was just speaking the way that Ian Thorpe spoke.
Yeah. But do you find that that's changed now? Like that you can't do certain things? Like I was
Yeah.
talking to this young comedian
Oh, yeah.
and we were doing a bit of writing, and I was telling him about this gag that I had about an Indian Uber driver, and I impersonated the Indian guy, the Uber driver, and he goes, "Oh man, you can't do that." I said, "What do you mean I can't do that?" He goes, "No." He goes, "You're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to do accents where you're not." I said,
Yeah.
"Well, that's just ridiculous." He goes, and he said that now on the circuit, that if he gets up there and does an accent that's not, so he's Greek and Italian. If he doesn't do an accent that's not Greek or Italian, it gets frowned upon, and he might not get work. So,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, and
I know.
I mean, I'm sure you're probably going to think the same, especially because
Oh,
it's your
yeah.
job. If you are capable of, I mean, it's very difficult to be able to impersonate someone as it is.
Yeah.
If you can do it, it does not matter who you're impersonating, as long as you're not offending them. Or, I mean, there's a fine line, and we
Yeah.
know what that line is after 20-something
Yeah, it's
years in
common
the business.
sense.
It's common sense.
But it's not very
But
common.
why can't you do it? You know what I mean? Why
know.
aren't you allowed to do it? So, and I mean, you do the Simpsons
Yeah.
stuff, right? Wasn't there a white guy who did
Apu.
Apu the black?
Yeah,
guy?
and
I've never
they've-
watched the
They
Simpsons. I don't
banned
know,
it
but
because he was doing, oh, Mr. Simpson, but they can't do it anymore because it's Hank Azaria who's not Indian, and they got rid of it.
yeah, but
and,
didn't he have to apologize?
Oh, probably.
Which
Yeah,
is just
I'd imagine.
absurd, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I get people saying you're allowed to do an Asian accent. It's like, am I supposed to ask permission?
Yeah,
Am I ring up the embassy?
yeah.
Sorry, we got your letter, Mr. Press. Unfortunately, you cannot do our voice no more. Basically, no more from now on. Is that okay? It's so much fun doing
But
accents.
because you can do it.
Yeah,
right?
it's great because I'm impersonating everybody I see,
Yeah.
TV or internet or people in real life.
But not everybody has the ability to do that because they don't have the voice. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
why I was saying, like, I can do an Italian man, all the Italian men sound like this, you know?
Yeah,
No problem. But if I was to do the Greek, because the old Greek man, the here, the texture, the here, I can't. I can do the Italian guy, you know, or I can do an Indian guy, and I can talk like this, and I can
Yeah.
probably say a sentence. Not a problem,
not a problem.
right?
But-
Not a problem. But I can't do the Greek. Can you do the Greek accent? That here's the text. If I was to say, do an old Greek man, or an immigrant Greek man, what would that?
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm doing Greek or what. I might talk like something like this, you know.
That's more Italian.
See, I'm probably doing more Italian.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yeah. But I do the Aussie version, like the oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
Well, that's the general.
Everybody knows that type of accent, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the what we call the WOG accent.
Yeah, the
here.
Wog accent.
But you know, you got to be careful because you define that word because in England the word WOG means something completely
Oh, it
different.
does, yeah.
England in the word WOG in
So
England
you have
is
to change
actually
your show titles.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? Here's an interesting story
Yeah.
because I'm doing these shows in England and I've been touring England for 20 years now.
Yeah.
But there's this one. I'm doing this show in Manchester for the first time, and the venue, it's an all-inclusive venue. So they wanted to know because the first line of my press release is in Joe Vardy's new show, he tells you to leave your political correctness at the door.
Yep.
So they said, "What does this mean? What do you talk about in your show? Because it's an all-inclusive." And I felt like saying, "You know what? So nobody can come and work there, mate. Really? You know, if I've got to." You know, be
Yeah.
careful of everything that
Yeah.
I'm saying. Well, what's the point of doing what I do?
Exactly.
So, but the other thing was, then they looked at my videos, and a lot of my videos, especially now, we kind of call it ethnic because
Right,
that
yeah.
way, because we found that the word "wog" not everyone understood it.
Yeah.
So they looked at it and they said, "Excuse me, do you know what this word means here?
Right.
Are you going to be using this word in your show?" I said, "No, I know what it means. I've been coming for 20 years, but I know what it means." And it's extremely, you know, it's worse than the N word. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
even say it anymore. You got to say the N word,
Yeah.
right? So African Americans call themselves the N word. Well, in England,
It's the W. word.
WOG, well, yeah, the W word.
Yeah.
Right. So if I was doing this interview on British radio, I'd have to say the W word.
Yeah.
But in Australia, I'm allowed to say WOG.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's very derogatory,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, you have to be careful. You can't. Well, I don't really say it anyway. But they had a look, and they wouldn't.
Yeah.
I had to like jump through hoops and so on to be able to even perform there. I mean, you know, they eventually they came around and it was fine. But
No, it's fine. You could say it. W
yeah,
word.
yeah. So, but how do you know when you can do that? You can do these accents. I mean, what did you have to have any sort of training once you started to do it? This is why I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you this question about when you did this later on. You know, do you look back now and realize what you have?
Mm.
What do you have that you can do all those different accents? Because a lot of people can't even do 3 different accents, let alone 200 plus.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's the same thing that you would do. You watch and observe people, and the more I observe and watch, the more I just tend to do it. If I watch a film, I just start imitating whoever I'm watching. And I used to work with a lot of Vietnamese people. So one day I used to sell houses in the late 90s.
Right.
And every day we'd get someone come and go, I want to buy a home
if you know a home can buy, if you know want to buy a home with duct heating, ducted heating, right?
Yeah.
Yep. If you know, I ask my wife if you know, and I would do that all the time around
Yeah.
the office.
Because you've got
Just-
a character, don't you, that you do?
Yeah,
that?
I've got Tim Tam from Vietnam.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
With
yeah.
his wife, young fat cow, my wife, you know,
Yeah,
she a nice
yeah,
woman.
yeah.
And it's so funny because, you know, for a country that starts with V, they can't say the letter V.
Yeah, right.
Where are you from? Vietnam.
Yeah.
You're from Vietnam, you go to Vietnam. And it's just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just got that from, you know, guys at my gym would be giving me a spot. And this guy, Joe, is like, come on, lip, lip, lip.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to laugh. I'm going, no, lap, lip, lip, lip.
Yeah, right.
So all this stuff happens around you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to. What do you look for when you? Because when you're doing an impression, they have to have a characteristic that stands out. Okay, like if you're going to get a really boring, like
Oh, yeah.
like some people you can't impersonate.
Yeah.
because they're very monotone.
Oh yeah.
But does the monotone then become
That can.
a characteristic that stands out?
That can. Like with Daniel Andrews.
Yeah, but how do you see?
Because it's quite monotone. It sounds like, you know, there's
Yeah, but how do you get his tone? How do you where do you go to get that sound? That's what fascinates me, Ben.
Yeah, I don't know how to teach it. It's like tuning a guitar string. You play around with it, going, oh, no, it's up, higher, lower, and I just practice it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get the timing, and with when I learnt Trump,
Mm-hmm.
I was watching him at first, going, I can't do this voice. I have to get his voice. I have to.
Yeah.
Like, there's no two ways about it. I have to get a Trump voice. And I watch him, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. When I stopped watching and I just listen, I'm like, oh, it's really high pitched.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's sort of a big guy. Expect him to be like, it's president. But it was like, no, I'm doing it wrong. And then I'd hear it.
And it's a lot more up there, so it's a lot like this. You know, it's fantastic. It really is. During the China virus, we had a great time because my wife, Melania, she's a terrific woman, fantastic woman. She finished 3 books, which was a lot of coloring in. Believe me, it really was. And she's so beautiful, so great. And all those expressions you get, and it's really great.
My favorite line you did about Milan was something about the first lady, but she's my third wife or something.
Oh,
like
yeah. My,
First lady, but my third wife. And I miss Australia. I miss New Zealand, miss Mexico, miss Italy. She's beautiful. 10 out of 10. Really great, so great.
Yeah, but it's not only what fascinates me. It's not only the voice that you got to do. You got to do the inflections, the movement, the head, the facial.
Yeah,
you
all
know,
those.
your face contorts itself
it does.
to become that person.
Yeah, like with Robert De Niro.
Yeah, you can do Rob.
Because when I do Robert De Niro, you kind of have to get like your like you've just had one of those sour lollies, you know, those words.
Yeah.
It's like the lemon.
Yeah.
I tell you what, and you know, just gotta have the little mole there. That's it.
Jeez, I'm looking
Every
at you on
every
the
now
screen
and then
now.
you get that face right.
Because I'm looking at you doing it
I'm
like that, but I'm
watching you.
looking at you on the monitor doing it. And on the monitor, in this angle, it is incredible.
Wow,
It is incredible.
you've probably met me at my restaurant, Nobu. And
I mean, it's so
I
good
do that
you-
face even if I'm doing a voiceover in a studio. No one's looking at me because it helps me do it.
Yeah, it helps you do it.
Yeah.
It helps you do it.
Yeah, there's
Look,
some really good expressions
you
you can get.
know, so if there's anyone out there who's an amateur at this, you know, who's the next Ben Price,
Yeah,
right? We don't need you to peak now because you don't need the competition.
yeah.
But you know, what are some of the things that you really need to know about when you're doing these kind of characters?
Probably catchphrases.
Yep.
I know when I first watched Steve Irwin, I thought, oh, I have to. This guy's so larger than life.
Yeah.
And he's like, crikey, mate, check it out. And he's like,
Yeah.
all these expressions. So that helps doing all those things. And Arnie's just easy because he's got so many catchphrases that
Yeah.
you would use and you got to send them up. But I don't just watch him in movies. I watch him in interviews.
You got to send them up.
Yeah, because
How do you know?
there's not many Arnie impersonators. There's
Yeah.
actually impersonators of Arnie impersonators, if that makes sense.
Right.
Probably the same with Elvis, because no one does an Elvis. They're watching other Elvis impersonators going, thank you very much. And it's like, but if they watch the real deal.
Yeah.
And that was the same with Trump, because people would come up to me after a show and they'd be going,
You did a great job. It was fantastic.
and I'm like, you're doing Alec Baldwin doing Trump,
Yeah, right.
right? And I was like, I know what you're doing. And they're like, oh yeah. And it's the
So
same.
how did you know that they were doing Alec Baldwin?
Oh, I could sort of tell because
because they would mimic Alec
they would
Baldwin.
mimic what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's not the same. And so I watched The Real Deal, and you got to watch movies, and it just happens, for me. But watch the expressions, the pace of their voice, catchphrases, and all those things.
Yeah.
And you got to make it humorous, like you got to make it topical as well. And some are really hard to write for. Like I
Yeah.
can do a really good Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Excuse me, hello, it's Christopher Walken. Nice to meet you. Hello, but he's hard to write for. It's
Yeah,
not.
right.
It's like, what do you say with him? More cowbell. Hello, but you've got to be able to just work with something that's topical, or how did celebrities do during COVID and
Yeah.
all of that.
Have you got a bit about that?
I did a bit about that because I thought, how are all they coping? Bear Grylls from Man vs. Wild was one. I was like, survival in a pandemic can be really tricky, especially in some parts of Melbourne where a man is beaten up every 90 minutes. He must be in so much pain, that poor man, always getting beaten up like that. And that joke, by the way, is always one that people have to think about because they're like, oh, yeah, the poor man. But it's hard when you got to explain a joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, so when you started out, when did you start doing this full time? How old were you? So
is
you've
it
come
easy?
out. Let's finish that story. So you're doing impressions at school.
Yeah.
Did you then go to TAFE or tertiary education after school, or you started?
I did some acting courses. I tried to get into a whole bunch of acting courses and didn't get in, and
Yeah.
that's a whole story in itself. But I sort of went the opposite way and said, well, I'm still going to get to where I've got to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I got there in the end, went the hard way, and yeah, it was fun. Did spruiking for a while.
Right.
Stood out the front of shops and said, come in, shoppers. And then
Yeah.
I'd say, oh, Homer Simpson's in here. Wow, it's 50% off. And people would be, oh, and they'd come into the shop.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
And-
because
and
if you
then,
use humor with anything, it all of a sudden people sort of go, wow, this is cool, and it sort of grabs their attention, right?
And I was doing that when I was 19.
Yeah.
And I remember getting paid, I think it was $36 an hour just to go from shop to shop around shopping centers.
Yeah.
And I'd be, doing pretty well at that age, and then doing a few shows on the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean, that's a great baptism of fire, isn't it? I mean, getting into a shopping center,
That's a
trying to
tough gig.
spruik people to come in by
Yeah.
doing all the different voices. I mean, you would have learnt a lot from that, right?
Oh yeah, that was good practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely good practice.
And,
then
and when did you start? When did you realize and say, "Hey, you know what? I can do this. I can make a really good living out of this." Because you're a family man. You've got 3 kids.
3 kids.
Ranging from 11 to 19 to 18.
Yeah.
Any of them do impressions?
They can. Yeah,
They can.
they're pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like they're creative.
Yeah.
My daughter, who is 15, she
Yeah.
sings a lot,
Right.
and she puts on accents, and she's more talented than me. And my youngest, they're very funny, and they can do accents, and they're not quite going to be the same as me. They're more better with singing. So
Right.
they've kind of, my wife sings,
Yeah.
so they've got the best of both.
Yeah.
In a sense, they can do comedy and timing, and
Yeah.
I'd love to see them do some stand up though. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Right.
My middle girl, she did an act where she was doing My Fair Lady, and she learnt how to do that type of voice where
Yeah.
Eliza Doolittle, when she nailed it. Like, and I can't do it. I was trying to teach her, and some of them learnt. They did a showcase because they do this performers group, and
At school or outside
there's
school?
my sister and my niece teach performers group for
Right.
young kids.
Yeah.
And so they did a scene from Fiddler on the Roof, and my daughter was playing. I can't remember the young girl's name, but I was Tevier, and she was the daughter, and she was like leaving, and I had to get all emotional, and I wasn't even acting because I'm like acting with my daughter, and it was like really easy to do. But there was this sort of Russian type, Jewish type accent, and this was a lot of fun. And it was great. And I'd grown this beard for it, and
Yeah.
it was really cool.
Yeah.
Not even comedy. It was really serious, but I ended up putting a little bit of humor in it.
Do you do a lot of? Do you get called in for movies and stuff like that to do the voiceover, or as well as acting on screen?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in a film where I did 3 voices called The Pilgrim's Progress.
Right.
So it was a Christian film, but
Right.
it's a book like it was written in the 1600s.
Yeah.
It's a classic. It's almost like Narnia, and I had to do these voices. So one of them was like similar to John Cleese,
Yep.
but higher pitched.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, right, oh, yes, oh, it's delightful. It was that sort of voice. And you see it on the screen. And that was cool. Going, that's me.
Yeah.
And there was this little judge who was like, he looked like Mr. Bean. But a really high-pitched voice, something like that. And I had one which was a bit like Jason Statham, who was like really sort of down there like that. No, I mean, but it was deeper.
Yeah. Right.
And he sounded really nasty and menacing. It was really cool.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, isn't it, to be able to
Yeah.
do that? You know, do you play? You know, I got so many questions. They're all running through my head, and I kind of wanted to get them all out at the same time. Pranks,
Oh, yeah.
like you know,
Yeah.
do you do pranks with your kids or with your mate? What do you do? Give us an idea of one of your best pranks as you know.
There,
Doing
there has
voices.
been a few. I know you like to cook, right? So I did a Jamie Oliver. I thought I used to do like a little bit of Jamie, so he's got that sort of voice, right? So
Yeah.
when he cooks, he marinates the food at the same time. And he had a restaurant here in Melbourne,
Yeah.
15,
15. That's right. yeah.
15, because we have 15 Luthers, showed him how to cook.
Yeah.
Did it in London, called it 15. Did one in Adelaide, called it 3,500, right? And so I did Jamie when he had the restaurant here in Melbourne. I rang him up and said, got one of my mates, Ben, he's going to come down. Just give him whatever he wants on the house. Yeah, no worries, Jamie. And my wife's like, you can't go there. I'm like, come on. And so she's like, no, don't do it. So I did the prank, but didn't turn up. And then
Oh, mate. Oh.
I think
Jeez.
there's
Now I know when I need to get into a restaurant.
ask
You
me,
know,
and I'll come.
I'm going to
I-
London in September. Can you get me to the Fat Duck? Can you do Heston? I don't know how what the
I'll
Heston.
do Gordon Ramsay. Say, right, I've
Oh
got
yeah,
a
let's get
friend.
into a Gordon Ramsay
I've got a
restaurant.
friend
We should-
Joe, and he'd like to come in. So make sure you give me.
He sounds like an angry Prince Charles, doesn't he?
Yeah, right. And can you do the
King,
King?
King Charles.
King Charles. No.
Yes, the artist formerly known as Prince. Yes.
Yes, great gag.
I was hard. You know, my son Harry would call me up most days when I had COVID, isolating. I accepted the reverse charges. Spreading lies on Netflix is tough, you know. Meghan and Harry. It's bad enough the Crown is spreading the truth about me, but it's tough.
I think Harry's not a bad one to do as well.
Because I think Harry's a bit more like that. So, yeah, I've got my new book out, Spare, looking for some spare change.
I don't think I've quite got that voice yet, but it's coming.
But also the other thing is this, that we are only starting to get to know his voice.
oh yeah,
If you know what I mean, we haven't
Yeah.
heard him. Well,
we're only just starting to get annoyed at his voice.
We're starting to get annoyed at his voice, and you know that's the thing. There's a lot of people like I refuse to.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to look at anything other
No.
than what I've got to do and what I'm learning.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, any spare time I have, I'm going to spend it with my family. I just don't have time to get into all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you know, obviously you're doing it. You're researching it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's this, you know, with the. We're flooded with things to watch.
Yeah.
You know, like back in the day, if you could only watch those 5 channels or 6 channels on
I
TV,
know,
and
so
that was
easy.
it. So we all knew those characters.
yeah.
We haven't heard a lot from him. Is there a character that you can't do yet, that you haven't mastered?
Yeah. Oh, there's a few. It took me a long.
And why is that?
It took me a long while to learn Trump, as I said, and same with Arnie. And it was like, what am I doing wrong? And then Chris Rock, I've always wanted to do his voice. And I'm like, what am I can sometimes like, yeah, I think I can get it, but I want to do it properly. I don't want to do a half-hearted job.
Right.
If I'm going to do it, yeah, I want to get his voice and nail it. It's
Like, where is it
'cause
at
I,
now?
I can do Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy is like, probably is a deeper voice, but sometimes it goes up high like that when I'm doing the donkey. It's beautiful, you know. And so I love to do that. But it's like, how can I? Chris Rock would be a good one to do, but I can't do that one. I don't know.
Why do you think that is? Because like a
don't
singer
know.
can't get to those top notes, you can't either. Is that what you're saying?
I think I'd need to just listen to the voice.
You've got, it kind of does that.
Yeah, maybe. You know, sometimes it's like that, but it's like, so I got a little bit of it, but it's hard. And there's a few others. I've tried to get The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
People ask that one a lot, and it's like, well, you know, I know you're checking out the guns, and it's obvious that I should be able to do it,
But, you know, sometimes I don't know if it's like that sometimes. That's the best I can do. But
Right.
but it's not like Arnie. It's not like
Jason Statham is great. I love Jason's.
I like Liam Neeson.
Oh, yeah, do Liam Neeson. He's good.
You got to get see because it's all that sort of deep timbre kind of voice.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. But I have a very particular set of skills that make me a nightmare for people that call me up in call centers.
Yeah, I want to ring the call centers like him. and
If you ring me, I will kill you.
I did that to a friend of mine, testing out a
Yeah.
new voice.
Yeah.
And then months later, I said, "What'd you think of my Liam Neeson?" He goes, "Was that you?" He goes, "I'm so relieved." He goes, "I thought someone was after me." I went, "No, I'm doing Liam
Oh
Neeson."
my God, that's so funny. Have you ever impersonated someone in front of them?
Yes,
So who?
Arnie.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how did that happen?
So he came from, when was it? I think it was 2013. He came one of the first times. He comes every year now for the Arnold Classic.
Yeah.
And I put it on social media. "Oh, does anyone know how I can meet Arnie?" And someone said, maybe. And I got tickets to do it. But not just that. They said, "We want you to warm the crowd dressed as Arnie." So I had all the...
Yeah, because of course. So I
So I
mean,
dressed up as
we're
him.
going to splice this into the interview here. So we'll get some B-roll. We'll put it in. So
Yeah.
we'll show the Trump. Because you actually spend quite a bit of time in makeup
Yeah.
prior to these events, right? So like how long would
all
it
the,
take to get
Bullet holes and...
to get dressed up as Arnie?
Depends on the makeup person, but it was probably an hour or so of full-on makeup with the blood and everything. And
Yeah.
so I've seen Arnie. There's this meet and greet with 10 people having dinner with him, and they'd paid 10 grand a head.
Yeah.
And I'm in there entertaining all these people. And I've seen, "Hey, it's great to see you." And he goes, "Looking good. Who does your makeup?" And I've gone, "This is true." I said, "It's not makeup at a fight with a Democrat. You should see her." And he goes, "No, who does the makeup?" And I was so intimidated. I just felt like going, "Oh no." And I went, and I answered as myself. I went, the makeup artist. "Yeah, but what's her name?" I said, "I can't remember."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Doesn't matter. It looks fantastic." And I said, "Yes, like looking in the mirror." And it was awesome. And then we're getting all these photos.
Because you're as tall as him. 'Cause
I'm actually taller. I make
right.
him look like Danny DeVito. I'm not that much taller. And I met Steve Irwin. I told that to someone at a gig once afterwards, and he goes, "Oh, was that what before or after he died?" I went,
my God.
"Mate, come on."
Yeah.
True story. And but I met Steve, and I was doing his voice for Steve, and he loved it, and he thought it was great. And I met Steve Brax, but that's for the people that would know him.
Yeah.
I think I met Rex Hunt, and there's another one that I prank called. He had a fish shop,
Yeah.
and I rang up, and I said, "Make sure you don't close the shop till I get down there." And then I just left it at that. So some poor kid was probably waiting all night.
Yeah. So when you started, what year was it when you really started realizing that this is going to be it for me? I'm going to make a living out of this.
Yeah, probably the maybe the mid 90s. That's when I met my wife, and we were going out, and I was doing gigs. And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to do this."
Yeah.
I was doing parties and little gigs, and then late 90s, I did I think raw comedy, and then I ended up. I didn't get anywhere with that, except I got onto some TV stuff
Right.
and did all this footy impressions and football voices, and so that was cool. And then out of that came other radio gigs. So it actually worked in my favor. But yeah, probably around the mid to sort of late 90s, I'm like, "Yeah, I think this is going to be good." And then sort of 2000, so it's easy.
Yeah.
That's when I went full time.
Yeah. Right.
I made a decision. I said to my boss, I was selling photocopiers. I said, "I think I'm going to try comedy like full time."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, good." He said, "You're good at it." So he was really encouraging. And I said, "If it doesn't work out, can I come back?" And he said, "Yeah, you can." He said, "But I hope it works out for you, mate." Really lovely guy. And
Is
it
that
worked
because you
out.
were shit house at selling photocopiers?
Yeah, it
Like,
was.
he was like,
I could
this is-
copy voices, but I know.
This was his way out.
Yeah.
Of instead of having to sack you,
He's
give you
probably
a
like,
warning.
"That's good. We don't have to sack him now."
Yeah,
Probably,
yeah.
yeah.
Now, so who in those days who did you look up to? Who was great at doing impressions then that you went, "You know what, I
yeah.
want to be this person"? And then was there someone, or is there someone who's the GOAT? Who's the greatest of all time of impersonators? Or is there someone that you looked up to that you went, now you look up and go, "Well, I'm better than that person"? Well, not better, I'm more successful than that person now.
Probably, I mean, I watched films and I was like, yeah, Jim Carrey, Mike Myers, those kind of guys. I want to be like that.
Yeah.
But here in Australia, you know, you'd go, well, the Jamoan and Russell Gilbert, all those guys were pretty big. They still are, obviously, but
Yeah.
in those time. And
But I never knew Jamoan as
no, not as an impersonator, but these are just comedians I would look up
Right,
to.
okay, yeah.
But there wasn't. I don't know if there was people doing impressions, except for TV. Like Fast Forward, it was like I want to be like that, and people at my school say, "Oh, you'll be on one of those shows one day." But yeah, I feel like those shows were sort of dying off at that time, and now it's been like, yeah. Because Hey It's Saturday, all those shows were in that era, and I was like, oh, I want to get into those. And by the time I sort of get going, we don't have those shows anymore, and that was tough. So it was like, where do you go?
Yeah.
And that's probably when Australia's Got Talent came up. It's like, okay, this is good.
Yeah. And how did you get to doing work overseas? Is it because of social media that people started to see you? Because who's out there now? I mean, I don't know. You probably didn't answer my question. So do you think
Out there now?
who's the greatest of all time? I mean, I've seen Jim Carrey do impressions.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen him do a Joe Biden, which is fantastic. He's great.
He's
Okay,
great,
so
but
that's
I
the
wouldn't
first
say he's
person
the
that I-
best impersonator.
Yeah.
But
Who was that guy that used to do George Bush? What was his Caliendo?
Frank Caliendo.
Frank Caliendo.
He's probably, you'd almost say the GOAT, or probably in the last 50 years, you'd say Rich Little.
right.
And I haven't met him, but we've talked on Messenger.
Right.
So I kind of met him, and he loves my Trump. So I was like,
Right.
that's pretty cool coming
Yeah.
from.
Do you reckon you do the best Trump in the world, or who does the best Trump if you don't?
Nobody does Trump like me, believe me. It's fantastic.
I've got a friend.
It probably is the best Trump that I've heard.
Yeah,
I haven't heard
I've
Alec
got a
Baldwin
good,
do it,
good
but
friend, John DiDomenico. I guess he's been an Italian guy.
Yeah.
He does a really good Trump. That's his go-to impression. And
Really?
he dresses up like Trump. And
Yep.
and him and I, we had this time where we were doing Trump. He was doing Trump talking to Trump, and then he was doing Stallone talking to Stallone, and,
Yep.
and then Dr. Phil having a convo with
Yep.
Dr. Phil. Really cool.
yeah.
But yeah, Frank Caliendo is probably one of the best.
Does he
he's-
still do it?
Oh yeah, he's still around.
Yeah.
But when I went on Australia's Got Talent, they said, "Oh, you're, as good as him," and I was like, "Wow, that's a big call." I was
Yeah.
pretty happy with that.
Yeah. I mean,
He's cool.
in your industry, we were talking today to Chris Connors, who's one of the world's best Elvis impersonators.
Yeah,
Right. And he was saying there's thousands and thousands of Elvis guys. Right?
Yeah.
How many people do what you do? I mean, it's hard to put an exact figure on, but
Yeah.
are we talking thousands of people around the world? You know,
Well-
is there a convention? Do you all all hang out somewhere? You know, do you all catch up? Is there bitchiness? Is there camaraderie? There's
Yeah.
mateship? How does all that work?
I don't know how many there
Is
are.
there a convention? Is there someone that comes on? There's someone.
That would be cool though if there was a convention of impersonators. There probably is in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's actually, you think, oh no, they're going to be competition, but when you get together, it's
Mm-hmm.
so much fun. I remember Keith Scott's another good one because he does like 200 cartoon voices
Right.
and all the Hollywood characters, and he's still around. I think he did Rocky and Bullwinkle, but when we caught up, I thought, I wonder, and we were doing voices to each other, and it's like, this is cool, and you compare your Sean Connery to each other. Like, oh, yours is like this, mine's more like however you do it. So it's fun, but I don't know. In Australia, there might be a handful, like 5 or 6 that I know. There's a guy that went on Australia's Got Talent recently, does all the tennis stars.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be fun though, wouldn't it, if we all had a Trump impersonator convention and,
Yeah.
and we all rocked up?
Yeah. I mean, because he didn't like Alec Baldwin doing Trump.
Oh, Trump didn't like that.
Trump didn't like it.
Yeah, because he made it political.
Right.
Whereas I'm not sure whether he doesn't like it altogether,
Mm-hmm.
because I try not to sort of be one too left or too right. It's just like I send up both sides
Yeah,
because
sure.
there's
Yeah.
hilarious stuff on both sides.
Yeah. I mean, and to be able to impersonate someone, they have to really have something that stands out. And
Yeah.
the more that they have, which is over the top,
Yeah.
the easier it is to,
yeah.
to do. And I, you know what I find interesting, and I don't know if this is because the way that we look at things. I mean, I met this couple once, right? And the husband, was a dead ringer for Tom Cruise. Okay,
Really?
didn't sound like him,
Just look like
just
him.
looked like him,
Wow.
right? And I said to the wife, I said to his wife, first thing I said is, what's it like being married to Tom Cruise, thinking, for sure
get
she's
it.
going to get the gag. She
Yeah.
did this. I've never seen it.
Really?
And like, I just met this guy. And so here she was. I mean, this is a woman who's married to this guy
Yeah.
for 11 years, looking at him every day,
Yep.
in a loving way, hating him, intimately, looking at him from all different angles. She could never, ever see it. I saw him for 30 seconds and bang,
Tom
I
Cruise.
saw Tom Cruise.
That's
And
hilarious.
she then confirmed that. Said, "Oh yeah, I've never seen it."
actually did,
Right?
yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You have to kind of look at people in a different ways. I mean,
Yeah.
I sometimes impersonate family members,
Yeah.
or sometimes friends of my wife, or in a nice way. Sometimes I do it in front of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
They're some of the best impressions.
Sorry.
They're some of the best
Some of the
voices
impressed
that no
yeah.
one knows.
No one knows them.
I've got
but
a few
you
like that.
do them
Oh,
at
yeah.
the dinner table,
Yeah.
and it's hilarious, and
Yeah.
no one will ever see that.
No,
Do
I know.
you
Yeah.
impersonate your kids? Like, do they when or do you have fun with your wife? Do you?
I
like-
imitated my kids when they were really little because, they might not like me saying that, but I think I was telling my daughter yesterday. I said when I turned 40, and she was like about 3 at the time. Now she's 11. So
Yeah.
there you go. But I said to her, "Oh
So
yeah,
that's- are you 49?
no, I'm not good with maths. I'm nearly 48."
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I said to her at the time, "How old is Daddy?" And she go, "Ben Pies." Yeah, she was 16 at the time. No, so I sometimes imitate my wife, which no one knows because she does, and she wouldn't like me doing this, but she'd be like, "Hi."
Yeah. Right.
But
Yeah. I impersonate my wife all the time.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. When she
And they imitate me, so
yeah. Right.
I can't stop that because
Well.
if I can't be laughed at, then I shouldn't be imitating any.
exactly right,
But
yeah.
apparently, if a good 80s song comes on, apparently I do this.
Yeah. Right.
I'm like, do I really do it like I'm a hillbilly?
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
what they say. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm like, just like that.
Yeah.
That's not too bad, I guess.
And where's this going for you, Ben? Like, where do you want to be with this? I mean, I know it's hard traveling, with the
Yeah.
family because you can't be away too long. You really have to. Ever since I've had my son,
Yeah.
I've got a daughter in North America. Actually, you know what? I found out last year because I spent some time with her last year. She does a bloody good Australian expression.
Really?
Oh, she does. She does.
That's hard to do.
It is hard to do, right? She goes, I can do an Australian. I said, do it. She goes, I can do an Australian.
Really?
And then I went, oh my God. And then she did a British accent. She's only 9, okay?
Where's she from?
She's from North America. She lives in
That's amazing.
yeah, so she lives in North America. She did a British accent, but not only did she like what you do.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to be able to do the accent, but she
can talk.
started to make gags
Wow.
doing the accent. I thought, you little shit, how'd you figure this out? Where'd you learn this? And never
Yeah.
have I ever heard her doing this. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so where's it going? Where
Yeah.
where do you think you're going to end up
Well-
with this? Because I mean, the sky's the limit, really, as
Yeah.
people are coming.
I think I've always thought, like, wherever it takes you, if someone says, here's radio, yeah, you do it. You can make plans, but you sort of go with the flow. But when you've got kids, and this is true when you're saying about South African accent, I did a cruise around South Africa at the beginning of 2020. So I was meeting lots of people from South Africa, right? And I love it, right?
Yeah.
Everything's right. When you get in the Uber, going left, right? Turn right.
Yes.
You know what they call traffic lights?
No.
Robots. So he goes,
Robots.
turn left, right, at the robots, right? The robots. I said,
Really?
Where am I?
Why the robots?
That's what they're called, robots. It sounds like
The
something
robots.
from The Gods Must Be Crazy, right? They look at those robots. They're blinking red. Now go. No, stop, right?
Yeah.
And it's confusing.
Where
but
is the car? You park
where's your
the
car? Where'd you
in the
park your car?
car? Yeah.
Car. Yeah.
Garage.
Garage.
Blacks and whites are segregated.
it's the best fun accent.
I love that accent. It's a great accent.
Yeah, and so I did this cruise, and it was beautiful, but I was missing my family. I pray a lot. I had all this downtime,
Yeah.
and I'm just walking around the top deck. Most people on I don't know if you've ever done a cruise,
No, I
but,
haven't. No.
but most people on cruises are between 80 and dead.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, so I'm walking around. Most people are walking downstairs like this
Yeah.
with their A-frame, and I'm
Yeah.
walking up the top deck. But just looking around, and I was like, oh, I wish I could have more time with the family. I'm praying this, and I'm like, I wish I had more time with the family, more time where my son could edit videos and just do a bit of that, because my son was doing basketball, my girls were doing ballet and singing, and I thought if we could just all be together. And it all came true.
COVID.
Like, yeah, a month later, and I told my kids this, and they go, "You caused COVID, Dad."
Yeah.
So, but I did virtual shows for a while, and I loved that, just having that downtime, going all around the world without having to travel.
Yeah.
And now it's like I'm ready to start doing more comedy specials and touring again,
Yep.
but not too much. I'd like to, still be at home, still kind of have it on my terms as well as and
It kind of, like I've got my son now. He's 2, so before I used to. Sometimes when I used to tour Canada, I was gone for 9 months.
Yeah,
from
that's hard.
Australia. I can't do that now when I've got a kid here.
Yeah.
But we're fortunate that they can come.
can take him, yeah.
I'm going to be away for 4 months soon.
Yeah.
They're going to come for probably 2.5 months of that.
Yeah.
It's okay. 6 weeks without seeing them is going to be. It's not the ideal, but it's at least they're going to be with me. And they can come, because he's young still, and so we're kind of fortunate. But you really have to. I mean, if I wanted to, let's say I wasn't doing shows in America and I wanted to break into America, I have to go and spend a lot of time in America. I'm fortunate that I've got a market there, and it's flourishing on its own, and it's flourishing because of social media. But you really got to factor that in these days, don't you? Because you've still got an 11-year-old, so you still need to be around for her. I mean, soon enough, your 18-year-old's going to go off to whatever uni or working, and you might be able to bring him around with you,
maybe
selling
go
merchandise.
no more than 2 weeks at a time, and do a couple shows, and it's hard because you get people in America. Oh, let us know when you're here next. Like, well, when I get booked, that's when I'm there next.
Yeah.
So it's hard to plan sometimes.
Because you've done a bit of TV in America, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're asking how did I get into that? Because
yeah.
I had some connections. Because I'm a bit of an oxymoron when I do comedy. Because being a Christian as well, it's very. It's weird to have someone that does comedy that's very clean like that.
Yeah.
So I had some inroads through some of those shows in there, and but I had a lady who got me. She's a PR lady, got me on to a whole bunch of shows.
Yeah,
we've got the Today Show, the Morning Show, which I've done all those kind of shows. They've got hundreds. Well, hundreds of those shows all around the country,
and the other thing is that all the little. So in Australia we've got the Today Show, we've got the Sunrise.
Sunrise, they've got,
and they all come out of Sydney.
Yeah,
and they're national shows.
Yeah.
When you go to Canada, Ottawa's got its own breakfast show.
Oh, yeah.
Calgary's got its own breakfast show. Edmonton's got its own breakfast show. All the major towns have got their own. Even the satellite towns have got their own TV shows. So, you can get on a...
I went to one in Missouri.
You're right.
And it was it looked like it was in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah.
It was like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'd spent the night in a hotel, like a Best Western kind of hotel.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, Ralph, was like, okay, what name? And I'm like, the guy from Australia arrived at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And,
right.
And he's got, I don't got your name here. And I'm like, oh man, I just need anywhere. I just sleep on the couch. And, and then I had to get up at 5 to go on this TV show.
Yeah.
I had like an hour sleep in a smoking room.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Do you often wonder where accents come from? Have you ever thought of that? I mean, because so in Australia, I think the only people who really, you're probably you're better off.
It's changed over the course
So
of time.
who are the only people in your mind who've got accents in Australia? There is one.
Oh well, yeah, we've got the one accent, haven't we?
No, but like within Australia, you can always tell when people are from a certain place. I know what it is. I want to see if you.
Yeah, I can tell if someone's from Adelaide.
Yeah, Adelaide. That's it. Adelaide, they talk like that,
Adelaide.
chance. Adelaide. I'm from Adelaide.
Yeah, by chance.
Yeah, by
chance, dancing.
Yeah. Dancing, yeah. Are you going to go dancing with us?
Yeah.
Or they got that bit of a British...
Adelaide.
Adelaide. I'm from Adelaide.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Queensland, there you go,
Yeah, probably the Queenslanders.
Tasmanians are a bit... I've met some Tasmanians from the northwest coast, and they're like, "How you going?" They're a bit more like farmer type of, "Yeah, how you going, cobber?"
Yeah, right.
I don't think that's generic with all Tasmanians, but the ones that I met were a bit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you
Apparently
often wonder...
Victorians have an accent too.
No, I don't. Oh, well, okay. So there's certain
We're,
words.
we're different to
like
to
grouse.
Sydney.
Like,
yeah,
because
grouse.
I'm from Sydney and,
Yeah.
and I live here now. So
Even Bogan came from Melbourne.
yeah, right. So Bogan is a Melbourne word,
Yeah.
grouse. That's
Grouse,
a
mate.
real
Victorian.
Victorian expression.
Yeah, it's not around so much
No,
now.
no. The word ding. So in WA, Italians were referred to as dings. So I'm a real ding. So nobody else knows that
A
around
ding?
the country, but anyone from Perth will know that Italians were called dings.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. But
Was
you know,
that nothing to do with the way they drive?
no.
I thought you were saying dink because you know when you dink someone on the back of a bike. I
Oh,
think
right.
people in New South Wales would call it doubles.
You double someone.
Yeah, and I remember being in Tasmania once, and we were looking for somewhere, and I said, "Just get the Melways out." And they were like, looked at me like, "What?"
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Melbourne, right?
The
So,
Sidways.
yeah,
well, we
they-
actually didn't call it the Sidways.
They just said we call it the road map, but
the road map. Yeah,
and now it's all GPS. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter, but
yeah. But I often wonder, like, 'cause America has got,
oh, they got their accents.
they've
that-
got dialects almost, don't they?
they've got heaps of accents.
You know,
yeah.
because you can tell, like you did the
Yeah.
voice from Missouri. Then you've got,
you got that sort of
African
voice.
Americans from New York. You
Yeah.
got people from New Jersey sound one way. People from the
Yep.
Bronx, Queens,
The Boston accent.
and Boston is a different accent
Okay.
again.
Like your, totally Californian accent. I
Yeah.
I had a friend who's like right on. Yeah, like
Yep.
gnarly dude. He's like, he actually sounds a lot like Keanu Reeves, a friend of mine.
Who's your favorite? Because we've got to start wrapping it up. We could talk forever.
Yeah.
What's your favorite accent to do?
Probably haven't done it. Well, the favorite accent, I like the British accent.
Right.
So I grew up watching Faulty Towers. That was
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
And I met him, did a little bit of his voice for him. John Cleese did a little bit of, just like that. And I told him
Yeah.
that my kids watch Shrek and he was King Harold. And
You're right.
and he was like, oh, right. Oh, yes, right. He was a bit more mellow. But
Yeah.
but when I do John Cleese, I get really loud and, expressive and I do the silly walk. So that was one that
Yeah.
I've always loved that because
Yeah.
I've always grown up watching Faulty Towers.
Yeah.
And of course, Arnie
Mhm.
is a favorite. I mean, I love accents. I've been doing a lot of the South African one lately. I don't know why that is.
Yeah. Right.
It's just fun,
Yeah.
right? And they're all so much fun. I like doing them for the kids, like the Homer Simpson Homer, which is so much fun. I like King Julian. I like doing that one. It's just you don't have to say anything, but people love it. It's so much fun. You can't help but love it. And I do Gru for my kids.
Yeah.
Go to sleep, minions. Daddy loves you. Okay. That is so much. It's putting pressure on my voice, but
Have you ever been in trouble? Has anyone ever got offended?
oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I say to people, if I've offended someone, it's not my intention. I want to
Yeah,
offend you all
no.
equally, but
You're such a sweetheart. You're such a nice guy. I mean, I've known you for years.
no,
You-
I get
you-
offended. I get people get offended all the time.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but I get people going, "Oh, you can't do the Vietnamese accent," or like, really?
Mm.
I had a Kiwi guy come on and say, "You didn't offend me, bro.
Yeah.
I was hoping you could offend us."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, but I would have had to explain the joke too many times," and
Yeah.
I get that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes complaints, and it's so weird when you get a complaint, someone saying you did an Indian accent, and
It's
it's
not
like,
from the Indians. It's from.
not from the Indians,
No.
it's from the Aussies that
Yeah.
go, I was really offended by that,
Yeah.
I had one guy speak like that to me once. He said, I was really offended that you did that accent. And I said, but I did all these other accents.
Yeah.
Why are you singling them out? Are you
Yeah. Yes.
got something against
Yeah.
them? I said, I do everybody. I offend everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Equally. You know,
Yeah.
it's annoying when you're like, okay, not everybody is going to find you funny.
Yeah.
Right. And when it's annoying, when, mate, you're not funny. You know,
Yeah.
What someone said the other day.
But that's
I know
fine.
you're as funny as watching concrete dry or something like that. Mate, do your research. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
I don't make you laugh. Not a problem.
Yeah.
That's okay. But you can't, people need to be educated. They can't go around saying you're not funny. I'm not funny
Yeah.
to you. So the correct way is you don't make me laugh. There are people
Yeah.
who buy you tickets, you travel the world, you do what you do. Obviously, you must be funny.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll be doing it a long time. You know, and when, it's the same with people who get offended. You know,
Yeah.
that's offensive.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's you find it offensive.
Yeah.
It's not offensive to everybody because you can joke about anything,
Yeah.
but you can't joke about anything to anyone.
Mm.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
You know, because if you've got a room full of people who, you know, you could do some really, you could joke about anything and they're fine with it. you have to pick your audience. When you're doing corporate, you don't know who's going to be there, right?
Yeah. You always ask,
Yeah.
what can I get away with here?
Yeah.
And some people are like, oh, just you'll be fine. But then you realize, oh, okay, what they think is fine and what I think is fine.
Yeah.
But you learn to read the room. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
'Cause I did a fundraiser for a Muslim organisation,
Yeah.
and
Up in Sydney, was it?
it was in Sydney.
I
yeah.
think I've done one of those, yeah.
Yeah, right. And
with Tahir.
and they're like, yeah, just go
Yeah.
for it. Say whatever you want. And I'm like, no, I can't do that
Yeah.
because you might not be offended in this corporate environment, but you know what? I could
Someone
get beaten
might
up in the car park because of what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
So
Or
you got to be
someone
very.
could film and put it on YouTube, right?
Well, that's the other thing. But you can't okay. So someone films it and puts it on YouTube.
Oh.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. You know who this is? Remember Dom from Sydney? Car Dom?
yeah, I do.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that he calls now? He hasn't called me all
There you
week, and
go.
he calls me now when you're here. You stayed, I think. We stayed at his
Yeah, we
place.
did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's got a lovely place.
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Dumb. He's dumb. yeah, he's got that. He's got such a great name.
yeah. Mate, I can't remember what I was saying now. Before
Thanks, Dom.
he rudely interrupted me. Yeah. So we're talking about doing these shows. You can't. You got to be very, very careful. In this corporate environment. Ben, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah.
How can people find you?
Well,
Usual website.
my number is, I better not do that, benpricecomedy.com.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way, or Ben Price Comedy on Facebook, Ben Price Comedy on all the social outlets out there.
Yeah.
Not on TikTok yet, but
Not on TikTok. You should get on TikTok because
I've got to get on TikTok.
TikTok. Get on
I,
TikTok, not the Tic Tac.
Yeah, I grew up eating them, but I need to get on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know why you'd go well on TikTok? Because TikTok's all about 8 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. So, you could put a grab on of 15 seconds. Mate, this is a question I ask everyone. I mean, you're looking really well, mate. Not that you were not, you fit, but, you're
Thanks,
looking even more fitter than what you did last time I saw you. What do you do every day to I know you pray, you're devout, you're a Christian and you like to, pray and that's what makes you tick. What else do you do?
But hit the gym.
Yeah.
And it's good now. My son's going, he's 18, so
Yeah.
we just kind of walk down to the gym down the road and it's cool. And that's just even though you're going through pain,
Yeah.
it's like, it's a downtime and it's nice. Listen to a podcast or something. And I love to walk. Where I live, we've got national park,
Oh, right.
lots of kangaroos and it's like 5 minutes from where I live. It's in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
Remember during lockdown, seeing a lady walk past with a mask in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she goes, "Where's your mask?" I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah.
and but I have
What
all
about
that.
people who drive by themselves in the car
Oh,
wearing
isn't
a
it
mask?
weird? I always makes me laugh. I see that all the time and go, "What are they doing?" It's fine if they want to, but yeah.
Ben Price, thanks very much for coming, mate. And
Mate, thank you.
And it's been a pleasure, mate.
It's been awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent.